Ryan was running late for the most important interview of his life when he saw her. A woman collapsed on the sidewalk, pale and still. People streamed past, ignoring her. But Ryan stopped. "Hey, are you okay?" he shouted, dropping to his knees. No response. Her chest moved faintly, but she wasn't waking up. He didn't have time for this. His dream job and maybe his family's future depended on getting to that interview. But he couldn't leave her there. Quickly, Ryan called an ambulance. "Stay with me," he said, loosening her scarf and patting her face gently. "Help is coming." Minutes ticked by like hours. When the paramedics finally arrived, Ryan gave them all the details before sprinting off, heart pounding. He glanced at his watch. Too late. By the time he reached the office building, sweat-soaked and out of breath, the receptionist shook her head. "The interview's over," she said flatly. Ryan's stomach sank. All that prep, all those dreams. Gone because he stopped to help a stranger. But what Ryan didn't know was that the woman he saved wasn't just anyone. She was Emma Carter, the CEO of the company he'd been trying to impress. And she wasn't about to forget him anytime soon. Ryan leaned against the cold brick wall outside the office building, trying to catch his breath. His hands trembled as he wiped sweat from his forehead. He'd blown it, the one chance he had at turning his life around, and he'd missed it because he stopped to help someone. Was it worth it? He muttered to himself, staring at the ground. He thought about the woman on the sidewalk. She'd been so pale, so helpless. If he hadn't stopped, who would have? But now what? His mind raced back to the tiny apartment he shared with his mom and younger sister. The bills were piling up, and his temp jobs barely covered rent. This interview wasn't just for him, it was for them. It was supposed to be his fresh start. Ryan sighed heavily and pulled out his phone. No missed calls or messages. Not that he expected any. Who would care? As he trudged home, shoulders slumped, memories flooded back. His dad used to tell him, "Do the right thing, even when it's hard." That's what Ryan had done today. But it didn't feel like the right thing anymore. Felt like a mistake. When he walked through the door, his mom looked up from the stove. "How did it go?" she asked hopefully. Ryan forced a weak smile. "It didn't. I was too late." Her face fell, but she quickly masked it with encouragement. "You'll get another chance, sweetheart. You're smart, hardworking. Someone will see that." Ryan nodded, though doubt gnawed at him. Would anyone really give him another shot? What Ryan didn't know was that someone already had. Someone very powerful. Back at her office, Emma Carter sat behind her desk, watching security footage of the young man who'd saved her life. Her lips curled into a small smile. "Oh, Ryan," she murmured. "Your second chance is closer than you think." Emma leaned back in her chair, replaying the security footage one more time. The young man, Ryan, hadn't hesitated. While everyone else walked past her, he stopped. He called for help, stayed by her side, and even made sure she was comfortable before leaving. She paused the video, zooming in on his face. His clothes were worn, his tie slightly crooked, and there was a nervous energy about him, as if he were in a hurry. Yet he chose to put someone else first. "Who are you?" Emma whispered to herself. Her assistant knocked softly and entered, handing her a folder. "Ms. Carter, I pulled the visitor logs from this morning. There's only one person who matches his description, a Ryan Thompson. He was here for an interview." Emma's eyes widened. "An interview? For what position?" "Junior analyst," her assistant replied. "But he missed it. Showed up late and left shortly after." Emma frowned. So that's why he'd been in such a rush. And because of her, he'd lost his chance. She opened the folder and scanned Ryan's application. It wasn't perfect. He didn't come from a prestigious school or have flashy internships, but his determination shone through every line. Hard work, resilience, leadership qualities. These were traits money couldn't buy. Emma felt a pang of guilt. This young man had sacrificed his opportunity to save her life. Now it was her turn to do something for him. Picking up her phone, she dialed HR. "I need everything we have on Ryan Thompson, the applicant who missed his interview today, and clear my schedule for tomorrow morning. I want to meet with him personally." Her assistant raised an eyebrow but didn't question her. Emma smiled faintly. Most people would have kept walking that morning. But not Ryan. As she reviewed his file again, Emma realized something. Ryan wasn't just the kind of person she wanted to hire, he was exactly the kind of leader her company needed. And she was going to make sure he got the chance he deserved. Ryan was lying on his bed later that evening, staring at the ceiling, when his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, a number he didn't recognize. "Hello?" he answered cautiously. "Mr. Thompson? This is Sarah from Carter Enterprises," a professional voice replied. "Ms. Carter would like to meet with you tomorrow morning regarding your application." Ryan sat up straight, heart pounding. "Wait, what? I understand there was some confusion earlier," Sarah interrupted smoothly. "But Ms. Carter has requested a personal meeting with you. Please be at our headquarters by 9 a.m. Before Ryan could respond, the call ended. His mind raced. Why did the CEO herself want to meet with him? Had someone complained about how late he'd been? Was this a courtesy call to reject him in person? He spent the rest of the night tossing and turning, rehearsing what he'd say. By morning, he was a bundle of nerves, but determined to make the best impression possible. When Ryan arrived at Carter Enterprises, the sleek glass building seemed even more intimidating than before. The receptionist greeted him warmly and led him to a private elevator. "You'll be meeting Ms. Carter in her office," she said with a polite smile. As the elevator doors opened, Ryan stepped into a luxurious space filled with modern art and floor-to-ceiling windows. At the far end of the room stood Emma Carter herself, dressed in a sharp navy suit. Her piercing gaze locked onto him. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then realization dawned on Ryan's face. "It's you," he breathed, stunned. Emma smiled softly. "Yes, it's me. The woman you saved yesterday." Ryan's cheeks flushed red. I didn't know it was you. I mean, I wasn't trying to." "I know," Emma interrupted gently. "That's why I wanted to thank you properly." She gestured for him to sit, then handed him a folder. Inside were documents outlining not just the junior analyst role he'd applied for, but a leadership training program designed for high-potential candidates. "We've reviewed your application," Emma explained. "And while you missed your original interview, we believe you're exactly the kind of person we need here. Hardworking, compassionate, and willing to put others first, even when it costs you." Ryan stared at her, speechless. "This isn't charity," Emma added firmly. "You earned this opportunity. But if you accept, I expect nothing less than your best." Tears welled up in Ryan's eyes as he nodded. "Thank you," he whispered hoarsely. "I won't let you down." Emma smiled again, this time with pride. "I already know you won't." As Ryan left the office, clutching the folder tightly, he felt like he was walking on air. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of an incredible journey. One that would transform not just his life, but countless others. Ryan threw himself into his work at Carter Enterprises with a level of dedication that impressed everyone around him. He wasn't just there to collect a paycheck. He wanted to prove himself, to show Emma and the team that they hadn't made a mistake in choosing him. Emma took Ryan under her wing, guiding him through the complexities of corporate life while encouraging him to stay true to his values. "Success isn't about forgetting where you came from," she told him during one of their mentoring sessions. "It's about using what you've learned to help others." Those words stuck with Ryan. As he climbed the ranks, he never lost sight of the struggles he'd faced, or the people still facing them. He started small, organizing workshops for underprivileged youth to teach them skills like resume writing and interview preparation. But Ryan didn't stop there. With Emma's support, he launched a program called Rising Stars, aimed at hiring talented individuals from low-income backgrounds and giving them the tools to succeed in the corporate world. The initiative quickly gained attention, not just within the company but across the industry. Employees admired Ryan's humility and drive, and clients were drawn to his authenticity. Slowly but surely, Ryan became more than just an employee. He became a leader. One evening, as Ryan stood in front of a packed room of young participants in the Rising Stars program, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. These were kids who reminded him of himself, hungry for opportunity, desperate to break free from their circumstances. "Hard work pays off," he told them, his voice steady and sincere. "But don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. And always remember, kindness matters. You never know how far it can take you, or whose life you might change." Watching from the back of the room, Emma smiled proudly. She had seen potential in Ryan from the start, but seeing him now, confident, compassionate, and committed, was something else entirely. "You did good, kid," she said later, clapping him on the shoulder. Ryan grinned. "I couldn't have done it without you." Emma shook her head. "This was all you, Ryan. I just gave you the chance you deserved." And in that moment, Ryan realized something profound. Success wasn't just about achieving your dreams. It was about creating opportunities for others to achieve theirs too. Years passed, and Ryan's influence at Carter Enterprises and beyond only grew stronger. The Rising Stars program expanded nationwide, helping thousands of underprivileged youth gain access to education, training, and job opportunities. Many participants went on to become leaders themselves, crediting Ryan for changing their lives. One afternoon, Ryan found himself sitting across from a teenager named Marcus, who reminded him so much of his younger self. Marcus was quiet, nervous, and clearly unsure if he belonged in the corporate world. "I don't know if I can do this," Marcus admitted after a long pause. Ryan leaned forward, his expression warm but firm. "Let me tell you something, Marcus. A few years ago, I was exactly where you are now. Scared, doubting myself, wondering if I'd ever make it. But someone believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And now, I'm passing that belief on to you." Marcus looked up, his eyes wide with surprise and hope. "Success isn't about being perfect," Ryan continued. "It's about trying, failing, and getting back up again. You've already taken the first step by being here. That takes courage." By the end of their conversation, Marcus seemed more confident, even cracking a small smile. Watching him leave, Ryan felt a familiar sense of pride, the same feeling Emma had once given him. Later that evening, as Ryan walked through the bustling office, he spotted Emma chatting with some employees. She caught his eye and gave him a knowing nod. "You've come a long way," she said later, joining him by the window. "So have you," Ryan replied with a grin. "You taught me everything I know." Emma chuckled softly. "No, Ryan. You taught yourself and everyone else around you. Kindness creates ripples, remember? Yours just keeps spreading." As they stood there together, overlooking the city lights, Ryan reflected on how far he'd come. From struggling to make ends meet to becoming a beacon of hope for others. His journey had been anything but ordinary. And it all started with one simple act of kindness. A moment when he chose to help a stranger on the street, unaware of how profoundly it would shape his life. In the end, Ryan realized that true success wasn't measured by titles or wealth. It was measured by the lives you touched along the way. And he had touched more than he could count.